Welcome back to Storytime with Rita today. Now, I think it's time we went on another adventure. Come on, follow me. So, the cattle really enjoyed the story time the last day, as you can hear. So, they cannot wait to hear what Susie Scamp gets up to next. Would you like to join in? The Adventures of Susie Scamp. A run-in with Perry. The days went on, and Susie, the little teeny tiny puppy, settled in more and more into her new surroundings on Glenameade Farm. She became well acquainted with Shep the farm dog and the cattle, whom she herded up from the fields every single day with Shep and the farmer. She became aware of the routine of the farmer's wife and the farmer's daughter, who would always leave early every single day, bar 2 days at the end of the week, and not return home until late that evening. Oh, how she did love living on Glenameade Farm. There was always a busy atmosphere about, and there was always something to do. One very important part of this story that I forgot to mention at the beginning was how Susie acquired the name of Scamp. Well, let me tell you about one little pup who stole a roll of toilet paper, ran all the way up and down the stairs, through the hallway, through the kitchen, in between the chairs, and everywhere in between, while the toilet paper was unravelling behind her. Not to mention, she got tangled up in the toilet paper herself. The house was an absolute mess after her, even though she thought it was quite hilarious at the time. The farmer's wife thought otherwise. Oh no, Susie! The house is in a mess now! Get out! Get out of this house right now! You are such a scamp of a pup! And that is precisely where our story today begins. Susie rummaged around the garden, feeling quite sorry for herself. She knew she was in big trouble. After a while, she lied down on the concrete pad, with her head tucked nicely upon her paws. Oh, whatever was she going to do? She was so bored in the garden all alone. Shep, the farm dog, was allowed to stay inside, for he had been good. Oh, how she sulked. All of a sudden, her ears pricked up. She could hear something in the distance. The sound was something that she never heard before, and it went a little bit like this. Susie wondered what it was. She was about to get up to investigate the noise when suddenly the farmer's daughter opened the back door to call Susie in for her dinner. Susie, come on, it's dinner time. Susie was delighted with this and quickly ran in. She ran straight over to her food bowl and gobbled up her dinner. She made such a mess on the floor. The food was everywhere and the water had soaked the entire floor. Oh, Susie, you are such a scamp. I have to clean all this up now because of you. The farmer's daughter did not seem too impressed. Susie just looked at the farmer's daughter with her puppy dog eyes and wagged her little tail. "Oh, you scamp," said the farmer's daughter, and walked away to get the sweeping brush and mop. While the farmer's daughter was out in the utility room, Susie heard the strange noise once again. Meow! Meow! This time it had gotten louder and appeared to be closer. Susie looked all around. Where was the noise coming from? After what felt like an eternity, Susie could hear the farmer's daughter talking to someone in the utility room. She had to investigate and ran out to the utility room after. But she was stopped in her tracks by this figure coming towards her. This figure appeared to be around the same size of Susie herself, but it had very pointy ears, a very long tail, and seemed to purr. Dogs don't purr, thought Susie, and she wondered what this animal was. The animal with her seemed quite confident and slinked its way into the kitchen and perched itself up on top of the armchair. "Who do they think they are sitting on my chair?" thought Susie to herself as she scampered over and climbed upon the chair itself. The animal and Susie both glared into one another's eyes. Anyone would think they were having a standoff to who owned the chair. "Meow!" went the animal. Went Susie. "Perry, where have you been all these days? You're late for your dinner. Come on." The farmer's daughter seemed to know this animal and gently picked her up into her arms, stroked her, and quickly walked out to the utility room while the animal purred in her arms. Susie was left in the kitchen all alone. "I see you've met Perry," called a voice in the corner. Startled Susie looked around. It was Shep the farm dog. "I never knew you could talk," Susie yelped. "Don't be foolish, Pop. All dogs can talk, but we can't talk when the humans are about. That's why I haven't been speaking to you all along," informed Shep. Susie could not believe her ears. "I never knew. What is that animal that's in the utility room? I've never seen one before." "My friend is a cat. And sometimes you have to be wary of those cats. They can be quite temperamental. Sometimes you get on with them, but sometimes they know how to get you right in trouble with the humans." Susie looked at Shep quite confused. "Would she be my friend?" "I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I tend to stay out of her way either way." And at that moment, Shep rose from the corner and walked out to the garden. Susie looked bewildered. Oh, how she wanted to befriend this cat. So out to the utility room she went. Once Perry had finished her dinner, her and Susie went outside. "I see you are the new pup on the farm. Am I right?" said Perry the cat. "Well, I wouldn't consider myself that new. I came here about a week or so ago, exclaimed Susie. Well, I overheard you talking to Shep about me, and the fact that you want to be friends with me. Well, I must inform you that in order to be friends with me, you must first pass a test. A test? What do you mean? Well, it's a very difficult test. Not many animals pass it. I pass it? I really will. I will. Well, if you're up for a challenge, then I suppose I'll have to accept. Come on, Soul Pup. I do not plan on waiting around. Susie and Perry briskly walked over to the farmyard. They walked past the blue, monstrous-looking thing that stood on 4 round wheels. The previous week, Susie had figured out that in fact was a tractor. And the farmer used it to do many different jobs on the farm. They passed the poultry pen. Then they passed the trailer that was full of barley. And then they went straight into the hay shed. I wonder why we're in the hay shed, thought Susie to herself. A few moments later, Perry came to a halt, with Susie stopping behind her. Perry turned towards Susie and said, Well, Pup, are you ready? I'm ready for anything, said Susie excitedly. She was jumping up and down with joy. Well, the first thing you need to do, Pup, is to stop jumping up and down. You are going to ruin everything. Oh, okay, I'll try to. Now, come over here and be very quiet, hissed Perry at Susie. The task that you have to pass today, in order to become friends with me, is to catch a mouse. Catch a what? Catch a mouse! Have you ever heard of one before? Perry rolled her eyes at Susie. Now, do as I say. Crouch down. Do not make any noise. And when the mice come out, we pounce. You mean we're going to make new friends and have a party? No, you fool. We're going to catch a mouse. Now stop your fumbling and get to work. So, Susie and Perry hid themselves among the hay and the straw. They sat there for quite some time. Some time had passed, and eventually, a little mouse scurried out of a little hole, followed by another one, and another one, until there were 5 mice all dancing about. They looked like they were having a glorious time dancing among the hay bales. Oh, it appeared to be so much fun. One little mouse grabbed another little mouse's hand and they began to waltz, while 2 other mice joined in with their own dance. The last remaining mouse took out a violin that was so small that it was only the size of a thumbnail. The mice were having so much fun, and the music sounded blissful. Once the lovely waltz was finished, the music quickly changed to an upbeat song, which many of you may already know as the Blackbird. Susie looked on with envy, while Perry stood quite still. As the music went on, Susie could not contain herself any more. Oh, she wanted to be friends with these mice too, and join in with their beautiful Kaylee. She could not contain her excitement any longer, and she jumped up out of her hiding place and down to the dance floor to join in with the mice. But once the mice saw her, they screamed and quickly ran away. Everybody hide, quickly! Back to the burrow! Quickly run! Screamed the mouse who had the violin as he alerted the other mice. The moment Susie made it to the dance floor, the mice had gone. Susie looked around all confused. What have you done? Screeched Perry in anger. I just wanted to go dancing, yelped Susie. You really are such a scamp. You have failed the test and we cannot be friends. All the mice are gone and I've nothing to catch because of you. Perry the cat stormed off in a huff. Susie lied down on the hay bale and began to cry. The tears streamed down her face. She had failed the test. She closed her eyes and wept until she heard a very quiet voice calling out nearby. Excuse me, went the voice. We just wanted to say thank you. Susie looked up. There in front of her were the 5 little mice, and they carried one small daisy flower between them. Susie's tearful eyes looked at them delightfully. You came back! I just wanted to join in with your dancing. The little mouse who had spoken spoke again. We just wanted to say thank you because if you hadn't jumped out, that cat would have gotten us. And we would be delighted if you would join us for our Kaylee. Susie jumped with joy. She had never been so happy. The mice gave her the little daisy, which smelled ever so sweet. And then they took out the violin once again, and they danced for hours and hours until the sun went down. I hope you all enjoyed story time today. We actually had one more little guest who joined us for story time today, but I didn't even know he was here until he said hello to us afterwards. Sometimes we must be quiet because he can be a little bit shy, and they like to live high up in the trees. Would you like to see who it was?